Yes. Good morning, friends. Today we are going to see an important topic for Indian democracy, that is fiscal federalism. Right. So the questions we are going to face today is what is federalism, what is fiscal federalism, and how fiscal federalism is an ever evolving concept. It means it constantly changes. It is not a static concept. It constantly changes. So let us understand what are the issues of fiscal federalism and what is the role of a finance commission. Is there any issues in the 15th finance commission or the upcoming 16th finance commission? Similarly, on what basis the finance commission divides the resources between center and states, right? So finally we will take some questions or way forward, right? So let us begin the class, and before that, do subscribe and share the video so that I can bring more and more such videos, right? So let us begin the class without delay, the class of fiscal federalism. First, we need to understand what is federalism, right? We all know that India is a federal country. India is a federal country, unlike American federalism. Unlike American federalism, because in Article 1 of Indian Constitution, it clearly says India is a union of states. India is a union of states, and nowhere in Indian Constitution it is mentioned that India is federal. Do you remember this point? The word federal is not mentioned in Indian Constitution. Having said that, India is federal, even though the word is not mentioned. It is several times supported by the Supreme Court itself. The point is simple here. Both the central government and state governments, both are created by constitutions. Both are created by Indian Constitution. The state government is not subservient to, it's not subordinate to central government. For example, take the example of British, because we have borrowed most of the things from British only, that is Government of India Act 1935. If you look at British, there the state governments has no existence, right? It is completely unitary government. Whereas in the case of America, the center and state governments, they have an equal role to play, right? But in Indian case, we have taken a middle path. We have taken a middle path. It is not completely unitary. It is not completely federal. We have taken a middle path to suit our requirements. We have different requirements, right? We have to address our plurality, our diverse needs of culture, shared history, to accommodate every section of the population. We have our own concept of federalism. Some people criticize this as quasi-federal, but still India is federal. Still India is federal because state governments derive the powers directly from constitution. You're getting the point, right? State governments derive the power directly from constitution. Its legislative powers, its executive powers, financial powers, they're all given by the Indian Constitution itself. So it is not a blessing, or it is not a gift from central government to state government, right? So all the powers of state government, they are derived from constitution. That is the reason state governments has existence, right? Yes, we have anomalies like national emergency or present rule, but there are some grounds, objective grounds, on which basis the central government imposes Article 356 or some other things. Let's not get into. Let's just stick to our topic only. The point is here, federalism means there is a division of powers between central and state government. There is a division of powers, right? Because we all know that India is so much a diverse country, so much plural country. To address our needs, we need decentralization. We need decentralization of power so that the requirements are addressed in a fair manner. In a responsive manner. We need the government at the closest level. It can be local bodies also. In fact, the local bodies also, particularly thanks to 73rd and 74th constitutional amendments of 1992 and 1993. So they have given a constitutional status to local bodies, right? So the local bodies also have a effective role in the delivery of goods and services to the people, right? So the point is, once again, the state government and central government directly derive powers from Indian Constitution. So state government is not at the mercy of a central government at all, right? That is the point of federalism, even though the word federal is not mentioned in Indian Constitution. And if you look at Indian Constitution, that is Article 246, how the powers are divided between central and state government, that is union list, state list, and concurrent list. You may be knowing in union list almost some 100 subjects are there. In state list more than some 50 to 60 subjects are there. In concurrent list also. The point is here, definitely one can criticize our federalism by saying more subjects are there in central government. Yes, it is a point. India has a unitary tilt. India has a unitary tilt because we need national security is paramount. National security is paramount, or to in the interest of territorial integrity, or to control separatist tendencies of some state governments, we need a strong central government. But at the same time, we need state government's role also to address the welfare requirements, to address the ground reality, because we all know that one size fits all approach of central government definitely make things worse, right? So that is the reason we need the role of state government to address the state specific requirements of, but it can be HDA, it can be poverty, because government is there to address poverty or to create jobs. It can be state government or central government, right? So even though India has some unitary tilt, state governments has a role to play. So by looking at the 7th schedule of constitution, clearly more items, more subjects are there in union list, right? If more subjects are there in the union list, definitely more resources are collected by the center only, right? More resources are collected by the center only. State also has a taxation powers and collection powers, but it's limited. Central has huge, it can be income tax, it can be corporation tax. The center's kitty, the center's exchequer is much bigger, right? So the point is, center has to share the taxable resources with the state government, right? So center's responsibility, because without the existence of states, central government does not have a life, right? Because all the state governments, if you combine all the state governments and UTs, then it becomes a central government. So it is the role of central government to promote macroeconomic stability or defense or communication or railways or inclusive growth of whole India. The central government is there, right? So the point is here, to avoid friction and to avoid disputes between central government and state governments, we have a constitutional mechanism, that is finance commission. A finance commission created by Indian Constitution of Article 280, so that the resources are distributed between center and state and among the states in an equitable and efficient manner, right? In an equitable and efficient manner. Let us see how it is equitable, how it is efficient. We are going to see in the coming slides. But do remember, the responsibilities of state governments are growing like anything. The responsibilities of state government, right? More responsibilities but limited resources. I repeat, more responsibilities of state government, but the resources of the state government is limited. That is the reason state government is always demands more finances from central government, right? So that is the reason, if you see, particularly in a multi-party democracy like India, all the regional parties are demanding more resources from central government, right? So there's always a friction. A friction is bound to happen, conflict bound to happen. To resolve this conflict, a finance commission is created by the Indian Constitution itself, so that the resources are distributed in a fair manner, in a responsible manner, right? So let us understand how the resources are distributed. But before that, finance commission, just now I have told you, Article 280 sanctions the creation of finance commission for every 5 years, so that how the resources are distributed between center and state. Because whatever the taxes collected by the center, that is a tax pool, that is a divisible pool, tax kitty or exchequer. This pool, this tax, whatever the taxes are collected in the pool, it has to be distributed, right? So center is there and all the state governments, and whatever the central distribution to the whole states, that is vertical formula. There is a vertical distribution formula, that is how much is distributed between center and states, that is vertical formula. And there is a horizontal formula. Why horizontal formula is needed, sir? Because listen here, in India there are some rich states like Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Karnataka, Kerala. At the same time, there are some poor states also. It can be Bihar, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh. So the point is here, these poor states, backward states need support, so that they can also join the mainstream of the growth, or for inclusive growth, or to address poverty. We need a specific approach, right? They need support. A helping hand is needed. To address this, a horizontal formula is created. A horizontal formula is given by the Finance Commission also, because in this 41%, this 41% is for the whole states, and this 15% lies with the central government for macroeconomic stability or defense or railways or communication and so on and so forth. But within this 41%, how much share is given to each state government? How much share is given to each state government? That is horizontal formula, right? Because a particular state is rich and a particular state is poor, and a poor state definitely deserves the more support, right? Otherwise, the whole Team India approach of Niti Aayog has no meaning, right? So in this horizontal formula, how the resources are distributed among the states, right? That is also an important point we are going to see. So let us see the next slide. That is, if you see in this slide, the current 15th Finance Commission Chairman is N.K. Singh. And if you look at the last one, that is graph. If you look at this graph, it is clearly mentioned 41%. 41% in the whole tax divisible pool. 41% is given to all the state governments. Earlier it was 42%. Now, after the creation of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh as union territories, 1% is deducted for them. 1% is deducted for them. And this 41% is for the whole states. Now the question is, next question is, how this 41% is redistributed among the states? That is a horizontal formula, right? If you look at this horizontal formula, there are some parameters. So we need to see regarding population. Let's see the next slide. That is population. If you look at the first, let us consider income distance. Income distance means we all know that in India there are some rich states. At the same time, there are some poor states also. The rich states means highest per capita income. The poor state also has a per capita income. The distance between those per capita income, that is high state and the present state, is the distance, income distance. Depending on the income distance also, some amount is allocated, and forest and ecology, area and population. If you look at the 14th and 15th Finance Commission, there are some other parameters like tax effort and demographic performance. Demographic performance means population stabilization, right? Population stabilization. Also, if the states have controlled their population, they need incentives, so they need support. That is the reason 15th Finance Commission is providing a 12.5% performance. It is a performance, right? Because they have controlled their population, they have stabilized their population through tubectomy or vasectomy, whatever it is. Similarly, tax effort. If the state government is collecting more taxes, definitely it is a positive point, right? So that is the reason also 2.5% for as a reward for the state governments in the tax mobilization efforts, right? And population, if you look at population, it was reduced from 27.5% to 15%, but one thing you need to keep in mind, in 14th Finance Commission, the population is based on 1971 census, but in the case of 15th Finance Commission, they have taken 2011 census also. 2011 census also in this population. So some southern states complained against this, because in 2011 population, they have controlled the population, right? They have controlled the population means they have less population, definitely they get less money. So that is the reason they complained to the Finance Commission, why are you penalizing us? Why are you punishing us for stabilizing the population, right? To address this question, they have added demographic performance. You got the point, right? That why the demographic performance is added in this 15th Finance Commission report is because of the complaint raised by southern states that now we are getting less share because now you are using 2011 population census. To address this, a demographic performance, a population performance was added, and you may be knowing 1971 census was fixed. And do comment which constitutional amendments fixed this 1971 census. I repeat, which constitutional amendments fixed this 1971 population census as a criteria needs to be used in the delimitation, right? In the delimitation or in these finance commissions, right? It was fixed by a particular constitutional amendment act, which is it commented in the box. Right, so these are all the parameters in the horizontal distribution formula, right? So that even the poor states also gets a say in the economic development process of a nation, right? So let us understand the issues. What are the issues of this vertical formula, or are there any issues in the horizontal distribution formula? There are always some issues, right? Challenges, problems that are thrown at. So if you look at the vertical formula, please listen. I have told you 41% is given to state governments. But do you know cess and surcharges? That is a tax on tax. Tax on tax. If you say this cess and surcharge, they are not part of divisible pool. If you look at this, earlier the cess and surcharges were mostly below 10%. Right, there were mostly some below 4%, 6%, 10%. But today, the cess and surcharges crossed almost more than 20%, more than 20% share. In other words, in this tax divisible pool, cess and surcharges are not part of. Right, if the cess and surcharge they are not part of tax divisible pool, means states have no claim. States cannot claim on this money. You getting the point, right? It means central government is taking all the money of cess and surcharges without distributing this particular share of cess and surcharge with state government. That is the reason state governments are raising complaints. Why are you increasing unnecessarily the cess and surcharge? So that you bypass the money to us. That is the complaint raised by state governments of Tamil Nadu or any other state government. Similarly, state governments today are seeing more responsibilities. It can be MG Naraga Act of 2005 or Right to Education Act of 2009 or National Food Security Act of 2013. It means for food security or for employment security or to provide quality education or health for all, state governments needs more finances, right? It is more responsibilities, right? Definitely it needs more finances. But the irony is state governments has limited resources. That is the reason state governments always compete or demand more money from central government. Change the formula. They're demanding change the formula because we have our responsibilities are growing like anything, but you are reducing our share, our due share. Why? Why the central government is doing it? That is the grievance raised by state governments. Similarly, the other issue is rise of cess and surcharge, particularly more than 20%. And if you look at the issues in the horizontal formula, look at the horizontal formula. If you look in this horizontal formula, I have already told you these are all the parameters: income, distance, forest ecology, area, population, tax effort, demographic performance, right? My question is there a human development in this parameter? HDA parameter is there? Answer is no. There is no such parameter. Similarly, is there a parameter of governance reforms? Answer is no. Right? Is there a parameter of local bodies autonomy? Answer is no. You're getting the point, right? These are all the parameters, but now there are some experts advising change it. Change the horizontal distribution formula. Consider the human development indices of all the states, right? Human development indices to include education or health or standards of living or whether extreme poverty. If these indices are added for each state, then resources are distributed to each state more equitably, right? After all, inclusive growth is the need of the hour. Inclusive growth is need of the hour. So we need to address the specific needs of all these states. It can be drinking water problem, it can be access to electricity, access to toilet, right? That is the reason multi-dimensional poverty indices of different states, if you include these parameters in the horizontal formula, then there is a more chance of equitable distribution of resources for all these states, right? So that development happens truly. We need true development, right? A real development, not only the rich states move forward and the poor states move backward. That is not a development at all. That is not a development at all. We need some combined development, holistic development of all these states, right? So we need to add these parameters. Similarly, we can add a local bodies autonomy also. If you look at 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts, which gave constitutional status to panchayats and municipal bodies, but even today also powers or finances, functions or funds or functionaries, these local bodies are at the mercy of state governments, right? They are the mercy of state governments. So finance commission can add some autonomy parameter in the horizontal formula so that state governments come forward and devolve more and more funds to local bodies, right? We all know that without local bodies, delivery of goods and services to the real beneficiaries is very difficult, right? Local government, strong local governance is very much needed for a vibrant democracy, for a participatory democracy. And let us understand the other parameter, that is efficiency. So far we have understood how to distribute the resources in an equitable manner. Let us understand efficiently. How efficiently the state government is using the resources, because we all know that in these populist policies, like everything is free, right? Free for everyone. That's a freebie culture, freebies, right? That is short-term individual welfare at the cost of long-term growth. Short-term individual benefits at the cost of long-term growth. See, the point is not to give up all the freebies, right? I am not saying, or we cannot say that the poor people does not deserve the support of government. The poor people need the support, but the question is there a better way, or is the state government using the resources in a productive manner or a wasteful manner? Is the expenditure is a wasteful expenditure or a productive expenditure? Right? Is there a better way to provide the resources to the needy people through JAM or a Jandan Aadhar mobile or direct benefit transfer and so on, so on. So the only point is efficient, right? So efficient distribution of resources. So Finance Commission here also can play a role in the freebies also by adding a particular criteria, objective criteria, scientific criteria, so that the state governments distribute the resources in the form of subsidies and welfares in a scientific manner, in a prudent manner, right? In a prudent manner, so that the populist or for vote buying or some election win priorities should take some second or third priority, right? So this freebie culture needs to be addressed, right? So let us understand the way forward, right? So let us understand the way forward. So the way forward is very clear. The state government responsibilities like functional responsibilities, financial responsibilities are growing, so they need a relook. Definitely the parameters needs a relook. So it is up to the 16th Finance Commission what kind of parameters they need to add, so that the federalism, the fiscal federalism becomes a living concept. It is a living concept, not a dead thing. Similarly, in this I have already told you, strong local governance is needed. It means we need strong panchayats, strong municipal bodies, for which they need resources, for which they need funds, right? Only then public participates in the decision making of the bodies, right? So for participatory democracy or for vibrant democracy, we need strong local bodies. Similarly, we all know that in the Fiscal Responsibility and Budgetary Management Act, right, state governments unnecessarily borrowing so that they can win for populist policies, right? So unnecessarily increasing their revenue deficit, because of the subsidies, welfare, they are part of revenue expenditure. So definitely it increases the revenue deficit. It means if you borrow excessively means you need to pay more interests, right? You need to pay more interest. At the same time, money is used for some revenue expenditure purpose, not to create assets, right? It means capital expenditure is going down, right? To address this, N.K. Singh said that an independent fiscal council needs to be created. If an independent fiscal council is created, then it provides how the income, if a state government wants to cross the targets of FRBM, then the fiscal council provides a report in the legislatures whether the amount is spent in a productive manner or wasteful manner. You getting the point, right? For efficient distribution of resources, we need an independent fiscal council. That is the point. For efficient distribution of resources, we need an independent fiscal council. So far, it is not established. And finally, we all talk about cooperative federalism, right? Cooperative federalism, that is, even though the priorities of central government and state governments are different, their objective is the same. Their objective is the same. Their end is the same. That is public interest, welfarism, right? Welfarism. So, or improving the quality of life of all people. To improve the quality of all people, particularly vulnerable sections, or addressing poverty or job creation. These are all the common objectives of any government, right? If the government realizes this, then they work together without any friction, right? That is cooperative federalism. That is cooperative federalism. So let us wind it up. But once again, do subscribe and share the video. And today's question is, discuss the financial relations between center and states in the light of cooperative federalism. I repeat, discuss the financial relations between center and state in the light of cooperative federalism, right? So let us wind up the class.